Season 7, Episode 11, aka Order 66, called Shattered, basically left us all shattered. And that's all there really is to that. I think we all shed tears and we all relived some sad moments, and having to see Ahsoka and Rex go through it was pretty hard and daunting, but it was an absolute incredible episode. Thank you for tuning in. This is Clone Wars and Chill. Here we discuss all things Clone Wars, and today we're breaking down the episode Shattered. And if you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, you're not going to want to go any further because this is going to be filled with spoilers. The episode started off well, namely the most notable thing right from the beginning was the music, and Kevin Kiner doing the score just really did an amazing job at making you feel anxious, like you knew it was coming the entire time. It was absolutely just daunting the entire time. It added to the suspense of just knowing that the clones are going to turn on the Jedi soon. So the episode starts off. We have Maul being taken captive to Coruscant, and Ahsoka basically agrees to take him to Coruscant after she talks to the Jedi Council. She talks to Mace, Yoda, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and Aayla Secura via Holo, and unfortunately, as we know, she walks into this Holo meeting only maybe 30 seconds to a minute after Anakin left. So it was very, very close. If she would have been any sooner, she would have been able to talk to Anakin one last time before he turns to the dark side ultimately. So obviously, the council thinks that if they can get Maul to Coruscant, they can question him and maybe find out more about who Darth Sidious is. Little do they know, it's not going to matter here in just a second, because Sidious's timing is just amazing. The conversation kind of takes place in Revenge of the Sith as well, that they have via this Holo. You hear all of the same lines that Mace says about, talking about Palpatine, and Yoda talking about this idea, this thought that if the Chancellor won't give up emergency powers, could lead to darkness. And anyways, it can all be seen in live action Revenge of the Sith, and that was one of the coolest parallels and things that I thought that Filoni did with this, is showing us where we are at in the time period of Clone Wars versus compared to Revenge of the Sith, and letting us see some of those emotional scenes. So we know that Anakin Skywalker just left to go tell Palpatine that Obi-Wan killed Grievous and that the war can kind of soon end, and the Jedi want to see if the Chancellor will give up his emergency powers. It's an interesting seeing Ahsoka's reaction to it, because you get to see Ahsoka say that she did her duty as a citizen. Yoda replies, not as a Jedi, and she says, no, not yet. The interesting part of that, though, is that she says not yet, making it seem like that maybe with time she would have found her way back to the Order, and maybe she would have tried to help the Order change for the better. Anyways, it's just interesting to see that she hadn't completely shut that idea out of becoming part of the Order again. But Mace is a total jerk. I wanted to smack him across the face. She basically is just like, yeah, this is Jedi business, so bye. Like, oh my goodness, it's just such Mace's character, though, and not surprising that he doesn't get along with Anakin, so naturally doesn't get along with Ahsoka as well. He's just an unapologetic, cocky kind of guy. His character's good, but I almost have grown to just dislike Mace in general because I just want to smack him. But anyways, so Ahsoka, leaves that meeting. They're heading, and she's staring off into hyperspace as their ship's heading to Coruscant, and all of a sudden Ahsoka and Maul Ahsoka and Maul both sense kind of what's going on. They start to hear stuff that's going on in Palpatine's office, and whether they're hearing it or not, or if that was just for the audience, I'm not sure, but I like to think that Ahsoka maybe sensed some of it and something that was going on with Anakin, but everything starts to be realized for Maul since he already kind of knew parts of the plan. And Ahsoka, she's probably just confused at like what's going on, trying to understand and why she's feeling this way, feeling this great disturbance in the Force. But it was one of the most emotional scenes watching Ahsoka's face as Anakin was completely turning to the dark side, and we got to hear all of that happening. And then Rex gets the order from Palpatine to execute Order 66, and he seems like he's not hesitating, saying like it's okay, it will be done, that kind of stuff. But when it comes time to it, Rex puts his blasters pointed at Ahsoka and hesitates, and he gives Ahsoka the amount of time she needs to defend herself, and he's shaking, he's crying, which was incredibly emotional to see, and he says that she needs to find fives. The interesting part about this to me is that if Ahsoka had been with any other commander, she probably would have been killed. Because, like we see, that what killed so many of the Jedi was that they didn't have any hesitation from the clones. The clones just started shooting. But Rex gave Ahsoka enough time by hesitating to realize if something goes bad here, she has to defend herself. So when he starts shooting, when the clones start shooting, she's prepared. Otherwise, she definitely wouldn't have made it out alive. And I like the way they did that. They kind of showed that it was because of Rex and his humanity, and Ahsoka and believing in the clones' humanity, and Rex believing in fives that Ahsoka's able to survive. So she deflects the blasters and she's able to escape through the ceiling. And then interestingly enough, I wasn't sure how this was going to go, but Rex also orders Maul to be killed. And it makes sense that Sidious would have Maul be part of it if he doesn't want any sort of competition or really any Force users. But especially since he escaped his custody. But yeah, so Maul not being a Jedi, he's still under the Order of 66. Makes you wonder, had he not escaped, if he would have been used as an Inquisitor, or what exactly Sidious would have had planned for him. But anyways, they're about to execute Maul when Ahsoka comes and rescues him, which was quite surprising, but it makes sense. And I thought, wow, we're about to get an awesome team up, but no. Ahsoka says, I need a diversion, and you're it. Now go cause some chaos, because it's what you're good at. And I thought that was just awesome, because she pretty much is saying, like, here's your time to shine. I'm just going to use you for what I need you for. I'm not helping you escape. We're not escaping together. He even says, do you care to give me a fighting chance? And she says, I'm not rooting for you. She could have probably given him, one of her lightsabers, but, she didn't. And I thought that was awesome. I'm not rooting for you. She's pretty ruthless there and didn't have any sympathy for Maul. But it gave us one of the coolest scenes we've had in Clone Wars, where Maul got to have his own Darth Vader type hallway scene that we see in Rogue One, and he uses the Force to just absolutely demolish these clones. He is absolutely violent with them too. It was like Dave Filoni didn't hold back whatsoever on the violence, like at all. They were decapitating clones with this piece of the wall that he used as a shield. He impaled one, chopped one's arm off in the door, which seems to be a theme lately since Mandalorian, using doors to kill people, but I thought that was interesting. But it was an absolutely epic scene. There's a part where he forces the guns out of the clones, and it's like almost directly mirrors what Vader does in the hallway. So that was really awesome. So Ahsoka teams up with some droids, which is just like her, and I thought that was a really cool touch. She essentially is able to use them to figure out some info on Fives, who she didn't really know much about, and finds out everything we've seen in the arc where Fives unfortunately dies and has almost discovered Order 66, and he knows that those chips are for something bad. So then she's able to isolate Rex, get him away from everybody else, and get that chip out. The one of the most interesting things of this is when she puts her hands on his head and does the "I am one with the Force and the Force is with me" that we see in Rogue One. Was another cool callback to Rogue One in this episode, and Rex starts repeating it to her. So I'm not exactly sure what she was doing, if it's more just like a meditation type of thing to really become strong with the Force, and she was able to help locate the chip in his head. I'm not exactly sure what was going on there, but it was absolutely beautiful and really cool to see. So thankfully, they're able to get that chip out just in the nick of time. You think Ahsoka's about to get overwhelmed by some troops, and Rex saves her life by shooting him down. And that's kind of where we leave off. Ahsoka asks Rex, how big is this? How widespread is it? And he says, Ahsoka, it's all of us. The entire Grand Army of the Republic has been ordered to hunt down and destroy the Jedi Knights. Just an absolutely epic episode. I don't know how to describe all the emotions that are felt in it, but it was everything I could have hoped for. It was definitely different than I expected. I kind of expected Order 66 to go down on Mandalore. Actually, because that's what the Ahsoka novel that I've read and talks about, but apparently they retconned that a little bit, and if that's what Dave Filoni wanted to do, then that is fine by me, because I think he does really good with all things Ahsoka, of course. And one of the fun Dave Filoni Easter eggs in here is that there's the astromech that kind of reminded you of Chopper from Rebels a little bit, and his name was CH-33P, or they called him Cheap, which is kind of how Chop gets his name too, and he was voiced by Dave Filoni, so it's a kind of a cool little parallel to see a droid very similar, probably the same kind of droid as Chopper. So, anyways, look for my next review, which will be up soon on the finale episode coming up. Super excited to see where this goes. Guys, would love to hear some of your inputs and thoughts and feelings on this episode of Order 66, Shattered. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. And as always, may the Force be with you.